Prelude to Folly. Prince Zor-Kull lounged on his command throne, his four spindly legs crossed in a display of regal nonchalance. Around him, the bridge of the Chronic battlecruiser Indomitable buzzed with activity as sensor operators and tacticians went about their duties. "My prince," called out one operator, her faceted eyes widening. "Long-range scanners have detected unknown vessels in Sector 931Z. They appear to be in Chronic space." Zor-Kull leaned forward, mandibles flexing in irritation. "What? Show me." The main view screen flickered, resolving into an image of sleek silver ships gliding against the starry backdrop. Their elegant lines and refined design were unlike anything in the Chronic fleet. "How dare they enter our territory unannounced?" Zor-Kull snarled. "Helm, set an intercept course. Weapons, charge disruptor arrays. We'll teach these invaders a lesson in Chronic might." "But sire," interjected his first officer, "Cle-Van, shouldn't we attempt contact first? We have no idea who they are or their intentions." The prince rounded on Cle-Van, his compound eyes blazing with anger. "You dare question me? I am Prince Zor-Kull, heir to the Chronic throne and supreme commander of this fleet. We will crush these interlopers and mount their shattered hulls as trophies." Cle-Van lowered his head in submission, though a flicker of doubt crossed his features. "As you command, my prince." The Indomitable surged forward, its escort ships falling into formation as they raced to confront the unknown vessels. Little did Prince Zor-Kull realize that his arrogance and aggression were about to set in motion events that would shake the very foundations of the Chronic Empire. A grave miscalculation. Captain Eliza Martinez of the Earth Space Alliance, ESA, exploratory vessel Magellan watched in awe as the sleek silver ships of the diplomatic and trade mission spread out before her. It was a proud moment for the ESA and for humanity as a whole. After centuries of conflict and division, Earth had finally united under a banner of peace, exploration, and cooperation. "Captain," called out her communications officer, Lieutenant Sanjay Patel, "I'm picking up some unusual readings on long-range sensors. Multiple contacts, approaching fast." Martinez frowned, leaning forward in her command chair. "Can you identify them?" Patel shook his head, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Negative, Captain. They don't match any known profiles in our database." A chill ran down Martinez's spine. Could they be a new species? Excitement warred with trepidation within her. First contact was a momentous occasion, but it could also be fraught with danger. "Broadcast friendly greetings on all frequencies," she ordered. "Let's show them we come in peace." Moments later, the bridge rocked violently as the Magellan shuddered under a sudden impact. Alarms blared and the lights flickered. "Report." Martinez barked, gripping her armrests. "We're under attack," cried out her tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Ivan Petrov. "Multiple hostiles, closing fast. They're firing some kind of energy weapons." The view screen showed a swarm of insectoid ships descending upon the ESA fleet, lances of searing light erupting from their hulls. The human ships scattered, desperately trying to evade the onslaught. "Evasive maneuvers," Martinez commanded. "Get me fleet command on subspace now." But it was too late. One by one, the ESA ships fell, consumed by the ruthless barrage. The Magellan shook as her shields struggled to hold back the tide of destruction. "Shield integrity at 20%, Petrov reported grimly. "We can't take much more of this." Martinez closed her eyes for a brief moment, her heart heavy with the weight of her duty and the lives under her command. "Initiate Cole protocol. Purge the navigation database and prepare to overload the reactor." She opened her eyes, steely resolve etched across her features. "If this is to be our end, we'll take as many of them with us as we can. For Earth, for humanity." As the Magellan made her final stand, a single distress beacon launched from her hull, carrying a desperate plea across the stars. The unprovoked attack would not go unanswered. Humanity would rise to this challenge, united and determined. repercussions, and revelations. Emperor Zalvor's compound eyes narrowed as he watched the recording of the battle for the third time. His talon tapped an angry staccato against his throne's armrest, the sound echoing through the cavernous throne room. "What were you thinking, Zor-Kal?" he hissed, his voice dripping with barely contained fury. "Attacking an unknown species without provocation, without even attempting contact." The prince stood before him, trying to appear defiant despite his quivering mandibles. "I sought to defend our territory, father. They had no right to enter Kronek space uninvited." Zalvor's talons gouged deep furrows into the armrest as he surged to his feet. "You fool! Do you have any idea what you've done? Those were humans, you ignorant grub." Zor-Kal's eyes widened, his bravado faltering. "Humans. But they're just a myth, a spacer's tale to frighten hatchlings." The Emperor loomed over his son, his regal bearing replaced by barely restrained anger. "They are very real, and very dangerous. Their technology is advanced, their warriors skilled and tenacious. And you've just given them every reason to come after us with all their might." Zalvor turned away, his shoulders slumping as the weight of the situation crashed down upon him. "We are not ready for a war with humanity. Your actions may well have doomed us all." Light years away, in the gleaming halls of the ESA headquarters on Earth, a very different scene was unfolding. Admiral Lena Ivanova stood before a holographic display of the attacked fleet, her jaw set in grim determination. "The unprovoked aggression against our diplomatic mission is an act of war," she declared to the assembled leaders of Earth's united government. "This Kronek Empire must be held accountable for their actions." Murmurs of agreement filled the room as the representatives of Earth's diverse nations and factions studied the data before them. The loss of life was staggering, the implications chilling. "We have long sought peace," Ivanova continued, her voice ringing with conviction. "But we will not cower in the face of such blatant hostility. The ESA will respond with all the might and resolve of a united Earth." She pointed to the star map, her finger resting on a pulsing red icon. "This is where the distress beacon originated. This is where we will begin our campaign against the Kroneks. We will show them the true strength and spirit of humanity." As one, the leaders of Earth rose, their voices joined in a solemn oath. They would stand together, fight together, and if necessary, fall together. The Kroneks would learn the folly of underestimating human determination. A reckoning was coming. Humanity rises. In the cavernous shipyards of the ESA, a flurry of activity consumed every berth and bay. Massive construction drones flitted about skeletal frameworks, bringing to life the most advanced warships ever conceived by human minds. At the heart of this organized chaos stood Dr. Mira Singh, her dark eyes alight with the fire of determination. She watched as her greatest creations took shape before her. The Nemesis-class battleships, the epitome of human ingenuity and resolve. "Dr. Singh," called out a young engineer, hurrying to her side. "The prototype quantum torpedoes are ready for testing. The simulations look promising." Mira nodded, a grim smile tugging at her lips. "Excellent. Make sure they're integrated into the Nemesis arsenal. We'll need every advantage we can get against the Kroneks." She turned back to the viewports, her gaze sweeping across the organized chaos of the shipyards. In mere weeks, driven by the unifying force of purpose, Earth had achieved technological leaps that would have once taken decades. Human resolve had always been the most potent force in the universe. Far beyond the boundaries of the solar system, the ESA First Fleet assembled. Sleek Nemesis-class battleships formed the core, their hulls bristling with advanced weaponry. Agile scimitar-class fighters darted between the behemoths, ready to swarm any foe. On the bridge of the fleet flagship, the ESS Retribution, Admiral Ivanova stood tall and proud. She faced her assembled captains, each a veteran of Earth's wars and rivalries, now united under a common banner. "We stand on the precipice of history," she declared, her voice ringing with conviction. The unprovoked attack on our peaceful mission will not go unanswered. We will bring justice to the fallen and ensure the safety of our species." She raised her chin, a fire burning in her eyes. "To the Chronic Empire, we are an unknown, a mere myth to frighten their young. They believe us weak, divided. They are about to learn the truth of human strength." A chorus of affirmations filled the bridge as the captains saluted in unison. They were the best and brightest of Earth, and they would not fail in their duty. "Set course for Kronak space," Ivanova commanded. "It's time we introduced ourselves properly." The first fleet leaped to FTL, the stars blurring into streaks of light as they raced toward their destiny. Earth was rising to the challenge, united and determined. The Kronaks would soon face the full might of human resolve. The might of Earth. The first indication of the ESA fleet's arrival in Kronak space was the sudden, silent vanishing of a border patrol. One moment, the insectoid ships were there, cruising along their prescribed route. The next, they were gone, wiped from existence by the precise strike of a quantum torpedo. Aboard the Retribution's bridge, Admiral Ivanova allowed herself a small, grim smile. The Nemesis-class ships had proven even more formidable than anticipated. "Status of the Kronak response," she queried. "Multiple warships detected near the patrol's last location," reported her tactical officer. "They appear to be moving to investigate." Ivanova nodded, her gaze fixed on the holographic display of the battlefield. "Let them come. It's time they learned the consequences of their aggression." As the Kronak ships approached, the human fleet split into precise formation, Nemesis battleships forming an imposing wall while scimitar fighters raced ahead. The insectoid vessels, blocky and inelegant compared to their human counterparts, seemed to hesitate at the sight. That hesitation proved fatal. In a blinding flurry of fire, the scimitars descended upon the Kronaks like avenging angels. The fighters danced around the lumbering Kronak ships, their pulse cannons and missile barrages tearing through Chitin hulls with ruthless efficiency. The Kronaks returned fire, their disruptor beams lancing out in a desperate attempt to swat the nimble human craft from the sky. But the scimitars were too quick, their pilots too skilled. They wove between the energy blasts, never ceasing their relentless assault. And then the Nemesis-class ships entered weapons range. Streams of supercharged plasma erupted from the battleship's cannons, each shot precisely aimed at the weak points in Kronak shields and armor. The effect was devastating. Insectoid ships crumpled under the onslaught, their hulls shattering into superheated fragments. In the chaos of the battle, one ship stood out, the massive form of the Indomitable, Prince Zor-Kull's flagship. The vessel surged forward, disruptor arrays glowing with barely restrained power. "Focus fire on that dreadnought," Ivanova commanded, her voice calm and cold. "Let's send their prince a message he won't soon forget." The Retribution shuddered as it absorbed a punishing barrage from the Indomitable, its shields flaring brilliantly. But they held, a testament to human engineering. The Nemesis responded in kind, its plasma cannon swiveling to lock onto the Kronak flagship. On the Indomitable's bridge, Prince Zor-Kull could only watch in mounting horror as his fleet was systematically dismantled by the human onslaught. Console after console erupted into flames as feedback from failing shields overloaded systems. "Sire," cried out his first officer, Cle-Van, "we must withdraw. We cannot withstand this." Zor-Kull slammed his talons down on his command throne, fracturing the chitinous material. "Never. I will not retreat before these upstart primates." But even as the words left his mandibles, a massive shudder ran through the ship. The Retribution's barrage had found its mark, breaching the Indomitable's armored hull. Cle-Van grasped the prince's shoulder, his eyes wide with fear. "My lord, please, we must go now, or all is lost." Zor-Kull hesitated, his pride warring with the undeniable reality of his impending defeat. Finally, with a snarl of rage and humiliation, he nodded. The Indomitable, scared and limping, turned to flee, leaving behind the shattered remnants of its escorts. The once proud Kronek battle fleet had been reduced to drifting wreckage in a matter of hours. On the Retribution's bridge, cheers erupted as the crew watched the Kronek flagships retreat. They had won the day, a victory that would echo through the ages. But Admiral Ivanova remained stoic, her gaze fixed on the tactical display. This was but the first battle in what she knew would be a long and bitter war. The Kroneks would not take this humiliation lightly. Still, a flicker of pride welled within her. Today, the ESA had shown the galaxy the true strength of human resolve and unity. The Kroneks, and any other species that might seek to threaten Earth, would think twice before challenging humanity again. The might of Earth had been unleashed, and the universe would never be the same. A new era dawns. Emperor Zalvor felt the weight of his years as he gazed out at the stars from his palace balcony. In the distance, the shattered hulks of Kronek warships, once symbols of his empire's might, drifted in a silent graveyard. The battle against the humans had been devastating, a humbling blow to Kronek pride and power. "Your Majesty," came a soft voice from behind him. "The human delegation has arrived. They await you in the Great Hall." Zalvor turned, his compound eyes falling upon his most trusted advisor, Vilnak. The older Kronek's kitten was gray with age, and his mandibles trembled slightly as he spoke. "It is time, my old friend," Zalvor said, a deep weariness in his voice. "Time to face the consequences of our folly." The Emperor strode into the Great Hall, his steps heavy with the burden of his duty. Before him stood the human delegation, led by the formidable Admiral Ivanova herself. Her bearing was regal, her gaze sharp as a laser. "Emperor Zalvor," she greeted, her tone formal yet tinged with the undercurrent of steel. "On behalf of the Earth-Space Alliance and all of humanity, I come to discuss the terms of our coexistence." Zalvor inclined his head, a gesture of respect from one leader to another. "Admiral Ivanova, let us speak plainly. My son's actions were foolish and reckless. He acted without my knowledge or consent, and he will face justice for his crimes." He paused, his mandibles flexing as he chose his next words carefully. "The Kronek Empire seeks peace with humanity. We have learned a harsh lesson about the folly of aggression and the strength of human resolve." Ivanova regarded him for a long moment, her eyes searching his face for any sign of deceit. Finally, she nodded. "Peace is always preferable to war. But know this, Emperor, any further aggression against humanity will be met with swift and decisive action. We will defend our people and our allies with all the might at our disposal." Zalvor bowed his head in acknowledgement. "I understand, Admiral. The Kronek Empire renounces any claim to the territory where our forces attack your ships. We will withdraw all military assets from the border regions as a show of good faith." Ivanova's posture relaxed slightly, though her eyes remained keen. "Very well. The ESA is prepared to establish formal diplomatic relations with the Kronek Empire. We have much to learn from one another, and perhaps in time, we may even become allies." The Emperor felt a flicker of hope at her words. "That is my sincerest wish, Admiral. Let this be the dawn of a new era, one of peace and cooperation between our peoples." As the negotiations continued, far from the grandeur of the palace, a lone figure stood in the shadows of a detention cell. Prince Zor-Kull, once the proud heir to the Kronek throne, now found himself stripped of his titles and facing the full weight of his crimes. The cell door opened, admitting the stern visage of Emperor Zalvor. The prince lifted his head, mandibles quivering in a mix of fear and defiance. "Father," he began, but Zalvor silenced him with a sharp gesture. "No, Zor-Kull. You have lost the right to call me that. Your actions nearly brought ruin upon our entire species. You have disgraced yourself and the Kronek name." The prince's shoulders slumped, the weight of his father's disappointment crushing his already battered pride. "I only sought to defend our empire," he muttered, but the words rang hollow even to his own ears. Zalvor shook his head, a deep sadness etched into his features. "No, my son, You sought glory and power, heedless of the consequences. Now you must face the results of your folly. You will remain here, stripped of your rank and privilege, a symbol of the cost of arrogance and aggression." With that, the emperor turned and strode from the cell, leaving Zor-Kol to contemplate the bitter ashes of his once grand ambitions. And so, a new chapter began in the history of the galaxy. The Chronic Empire, humbled and chastened, stepped back from the brink of self-destruction. The Earth-Space Alliance, forged in the crucible of conflict, emerged as a beacon of human unity and strength. Two species, once on the brink of war, now stood poised to forge a future of cooperation and discovery. The road ahead would be long and fraught with challenges, but for the first time in centuries, the stars seemed a little brighter, the universe a little less cold and hostile. For in the face of adversity, humanity had proven once more the power of its resolve and the indomitable nature of its spirit. And the galaxy would never be the same. The end.